Well, hello, and welcome to Gallifrey's Most Wanted. I'm Ross Aiken. I'm Old Who.
My name is Melvin Pena, and I represent You Who.
And well, I'm behind you.
Ooh. So, folks, it's episode 3 of the new season, and the episode is called The Well. I'm gonna let Jet go first this time.
Okay. On the whole, I had quite a good time with this one. Thought it was really good. I thought they had quite a strong supporting cast. I have a few um issues with it still. Most of them to do with it feeling incredibly derivative, and not just because it's a sequel of sorts to a story that didn't really need a sequel, but it was a well done sequel, I think, all things considered. And I think this is, I think I preferred looks, but I think this has been 3 for 3 so far this season, so I'm actually quite happy. Yeah.
Man, I'm not the same way. I really took it. I enjoyed it on the base level. That is a very entertaining, pretty spooky base under siege story. Okay, derivative. You as a Doctor Who fan, you have to go. Okay, it's a base under siege story. It's whatever this story, whatever the tropes are for this series in all its iterations. Um, I my thing on it being a sequel, did it need to be a sequel? No, not in any way, shape, or form. You could have just done it and it would have been fine. Maybe it would rank higher to me. I mean, I like it. I mean, I really liked it a lot. I mean, it's not the greatest episode ever made, but it was really it did what it did what it was supposed to do, entertain you and scare you a little bit and be creepy and have an engaging, great cast.
I
All of them, very good. All of
I
them.
said halfway through out loud because my daughter and her boyfriend, they stayed and watched the whole thing. They were totally invested, and I was watching it and I said, "Is this Doctor Who doing a Doctor Who story?"
That's a
Because it's a
good.
very trad Doctor Who story.
It is. It is. It is. But I mean, I don't mind it. I kind of, here's my take on it. As old school Doctor Who fans, watching classic Who, you had repeat villains. They have, for whether they're not doing it at all in this new iteration because they don't want to or they can't because they have to pay people to do a Dalek story. You got to pay the estate. You got to use the Cybermen. You got to pay the estates. So, but why not? We did, we bring back monsters all the time in this, and as you said, it didn't need to be the sequel, Jeff, and um, that that story need a sequel? But I think that's true with a lot of the monsters. Some monsters it goes up and down. Other monsters, I think, like the Weeping Angels, until the Jodie ones, was every time they appeared, it was diminishing returns because they're not built. That monster wasn't built to be repeated. I think that was my take on it. And every once in a while they would get it, but this one, I think it's as scary. Isn't it? It's close to that kind of fear factor that Midnight has, the unseeable monster. But I liked it. That didn't bug me. It didn't need to be there, but it didn't bug me.
You say close, and I'm aware Melvin hasn't had his go yet,
Oh yeah.
so I don't want to interrupt. But I think Midnight is it's far more intense,
Yeah,
and it's claustrophobic. This story isn't claustrophobic; it's very wide open. So I think Midnight probably still has the edge.
Oh yeah, it's by far. Yeah, no, I mean this is a diminishing. This is entertaining. It's not as that one freaked me out.
Yeah, first time watch. I mean, Midnight is a story that diminishes on return to it. Once you know the premise, it doesn't hit as hard the second time,
Yeah,
third
once you know
time
how the
round.
magic, the
Yeah,
trick's
yeah,
done.
yeah. But no, I quite like this one.
All right, Melvin.
Yeah, I really loved this story. this is definitely 3 for 3 for me as well, and 4 for 4, I guess, if we want to extend the season back to the Christmas special, which I feel like the Christmas special sort of sets it always has for me, like going back to the RTD, especially the Moffat era, that it feels like the Christmas special isn't the end of one season, but the beginning of a new one. Um, and think about it. Every episode this season has been, the tagline of the on the poster was "Get her home," in reference specifically to Belinda. But this is the third story in a row, which is about, in essence, restoration, like returning people to where they belong, whether that's the 15 people from the movie theater, or Belinda in the first episode, or I mean, it's what Rose Ailing Ellis's character Alice, who is phenomenal. It's the first thing out of her mouth is, "Can you get me home? Can you get me back home?" Sorry, I'm already crying. There are a lot of things that made me cry in this episode. I mean, even from the first watch, and I wasn't sure why. For me, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and I've seen some of the rumblings on the internet about, like, yeah, they're just retreading the same plot devices. Can't we do something new? My thing, and I have a sort of instinctive reaction to that, mostly because of academic elitism, which is something that everyone hates. But I've got several degrees in literature, so I feel like I know what a good story is and a good plot is. And it's not that y'all are saying that this is a bad plot or a bad story, but one of the things that I see on the internet when I see the rumblings is that when people say that it's repetitive or that it's derivative, it's as a negative. And I'm like, well, there are really only a few plot lines in the universe. Like, and we talk about, like, that there are, it's just recombinant.
There are only 7 stories in the world, and they're just
whatever
told over and over again.
Or so it bugs me when I hear people say that, because I'm like, what do you want? Like, when people talk about, like, from last week, Lux, when Blink was like, everyone's like, well, our favorite story is Blink. And when people talk about that, they're like, well, that can't be your favorite one because it's a Dr. Light story. Like, what do people want? When something is truly original, they're like, this isn't Doctor Who. You couldn't do this every week. But then when they do, you get a trad Doctor Who story, they're like, this is derivative. I'm like, well, what do you want? And I'm not talking to you specifically, either of you. I'm just like, I don't understand what people want from Doctor Who if they don't like it when it's original and they don't like it when it's not original. Like, but for me, again, I loved it. I thought it was tense from start to finish. I thought it got more tense as it went on. Yeah, no, I mean, I loved it, and we'll get into the whys and whatnots about it as we go along. I'm sorry, Jeff, you look like you wanted to say something, please.
I was going to say, the derivative thing for me wasn't anything to do with previous Doctor Who, though. It was the fact that they lent so heavily into the aliens pastiche, to the point that we get the "we'll nuke this site from orbit" line, not once, but twice. The bit where we see them overlooking the well from the outside before they get there, that just felt very the beginning of Aliens, where they're starting to come into the colony. And because I love aliens,
in a lot of science fiction, aliens become shorthand. I know
it's a touchstone, yeah.
Well, it's
I mean, if you're going to riff off a film, riff off Aliens,
the good ones,
Aliens.
You want to watch the one when I was old enough to have seen it in the theater. Yes, I saw it in the theater, and it's
and maybe that's a fault for me because I haven't. It's on my list. I haven't. It's not that I haven't seen it. It's not that I haven't seen it. It's that I haven't seen it in a really, really long time. So that wasn't the first thing. It wasn't until one of the people who follows on Blue Sky mentioned the Aliens pastiche. I was like, that was literally the first moment that even registered for me. It's like, oh yeah, I guess that is there too, because it wasn't for me the frame of reference. Like, and I get it, and like
me out of it a little bit, and that's
what
I frustrated me. It took me out because I was going, oh, aliens, I see what they're doing, and because of that, I found it.
That's I think. Finish. Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, I think the thing I want to talk about most is Alice. What a performance. She's so good. And it's another example of there being a really good incidental character or guest character who you wish was traveling with the Doctor. And it's such a good job that Belinda is such a strong character that she isn't being overshadowed by these sort of like Cudbys. But what a performance. She was utterly believable in every single moment. I thought she was the standout performance of the series so far.
Yeah,
By a long shot.
Okay, the person who wanted to be an actor thing, there's something about her performance that's so powerful. And one part of it is because she, she never moves. And I didn't even catch it. She doesn't move out of that spot. Even when they're there, she stays exactly where she is because she's protecting them.
Yep.
And
she does a spin like right at the beginning when she starts to get a little bit flustered, but I think that's before.
But she does not move. Doesn't
yeah.
move from the center of that circle.
There's something really odd about that, very awkward and uncanny.
And she is amazing because she draws you in, and the whole. Well, I want to say the whole cast was really good. I think every one of the soldiers had a moment. They weren't cartoon. They weren't cookie cutter, even though they only had a couple lines.
And even though most of them only had numbers for names, which goes back to the Lux thing last week.
And I think a lot that has to do with the director. This was well directed because you're on edge the whole time, as much as she can get the audience in. So, even if you get like Jeff got taken out by the thing, but I think the fear and the mystery and all that.
Speaking of which, The Thing was the thing that I kept thinking of. I'm like, oh, this is a lot like The Thing.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't.
Again, another good film to be ripping off. Let's.
No, it's like okay.
But I don't want to stray too far because I do want to talk about Rose Ailing Ellis. As Alice.
But she's just so wonderful, and it's just such a beautiful performance because she doesn't get it. She's
very genuine.
When you're an actor and you're not allowed to move.
Real.
Yep.
Yeah, when you're real. But when you're an actor and you're not allowed to move, it makes it harder. She speaks with her, she does sign language, so she is moving.
Gestural.
But there's a point there, actors like to move. It's if you're not in action, you're not seen. Kind of thing. It's a natural instinct. People, they just want to wander. But when you have to make a move, it makes it. I think it's such a powerful performance because she is just standing there until the very end.
Well, and that's the thing, and it's the thing we always got with Capaldi, which is extraordinary for an actor of her much, much younger age. But Capaldi, we would praise because he would do something with his face, and it would convey more than some people do with like Matt Smith could with very broad and big gestures. But Rose Ailing Ellis has that ability and that skill to when she's shaking, like for her, that movement that you're talking about, Ross, she accomplishes with nervous energy or with like just barely turning her head, or the fact that we don't usually talk a lot about hair and makeup or costuming, but her clothes are bedraggled, her hair is a giant a mess, her face looks, she looks that's the part that maybe she looks exhausted. It's like she looks so tired, and she's been here on her own for 15 days, like much less how long did it take before, while all the stuff was happening there at the mine. Like, she looks every bit of that, and I feel like her performance conveys that in a way that is exactly like what you're talking about, Ross, but in a much more sort of narrowly constrained. For me, that was the claustrophobic aspect of this episode. Like, there's tons of space, but she can't, like, it's exactly what you just said, she doesn't move,
except she's constantly moving. In that because she is trembling, she's shaking, she has that nervous energy. She must have been exhausted naturally by the end of this anyway, because her whole body is performing the entire way through. Even the way she shifts her weight from foot to foot and stuff like that. She must have been knackered by the end of this.
It had to have been draining. That's what I think it is, because that's a lot of focus. Because when you're acting, you're supposed to be in the moment, but there are times where you have to go, okay, I need to make sure I'm vibrating, and it's called, they teach it sense memory. What does your muscle feels like so you can imitate it? But yeah, she is, it's a standout. And this, I was watching it and I went, oh, they're just making a good story. It's not, there's not a preachy message. There's not, I don't mean you know what I mean, but there's not a message. There's not something this. It's just, they're just trying to give us a creepy little story. And I like a good, creepy little Doctor Who story. But I kept, as I, I got to watch this one twice. I was watching it, but it's also so well acted. Her.
Yep.
When they bring the characters into her, those intimate scenes with either Belinda or I don't know her number, but the young lady who at the end is on
her name is Mo.
Mo.
Her character's name is Mo. Yep.
Mo, when they're in there and the three of them,
yep.
it gets really kind of claustrophobic. So well shot. I think it's better directed than when I first watched it, I thought it was really good. And then the second time I watched it, I said, this is really well constructed. This is a lot of this is the director. The angle she's picking, the sets are great. I don't know how much they're doing adding in the back, but that was a lot of physical space, real physical spaces they were in.
Amanda Bracci, by the way, is the name of the director.
Yeah, she did. I think she did a wonderful job.
She crushed
it. She didn't try to rush it. It didn't have that frenetic, Alien gets more and more frenetic. This one is just, except for that burst where a bunch of them die, it never gets that chaotic except there and when they run away.
That's so well done as well. Those people just flying through the air. It was remarkably
incredible.
Well done. Yeah.
And
we got the view from the top down as well. So you actually see them going over her. Really good. Really good.
There was a bit about that on Stefan Powell Unleashed, where they were showing them shooting the POV flying through the air scene. Really incredible.
Really.
Because the person had a GoPro on. So they were filming them being thrown across the room while they were wearing a GoPro.
Awesome. So no, but it looked, so there was a threat, it's not a ray gun or not, you just die. And it also lets you, what I liked was when they started throwing them around, I started thinking about what was it like when the creature first came out and this was happening where people, what was it like in the hallway?
Yep.
You know what I mean? It made me think about that. That must have been chaos. The creature is smashing mirrors. People are killing each other. Other people being thrown into walls and crushed.
Yeah.
So
also
what did she see? What was she,
The liquid wall of mercury has to be one of the most visually stunning things Doctor Who has ever done. It's really well done.
Yeah.
Really well done.
So, I mean, it's so well put together. And I think I could watch this again and again for a bit. It may have diminishing returns, but there's enough to focus on.
I saw it 4 times, and before we totally get off of Rose Ayling-Ellis, in that central sort of guest performance, the second time I watched it, I watched Unleashed afterwards, and it was either Stefan Powell or one of the narrative voices said that we're spending time with a character that we never completely trust. And I'm like, I don't know that if I got that from the episode. So I went back and watched it again because I'm like, you don't say that unless someone approves it. And not that you have to take what anyone says as the way to interpret something. But I'm like, I'm going to watch this again just to see if I can read it that way myself. And, again, if you watch it again with that in mind, there is a sense in which,
there's a moment
you don't really 100% trust her.
I had a moment right before that guy lost it where because she has a secret. She knows it's behind her. She's not shared that with them.
She doesn't reveal it all. Yep.
She doesn't want to reveal it because she wants them to take her off the planet. Okay, she's doing anything to go home.
Yeah,
excluding. So I felt there was a moment where I was like, what's going on?
And that's the thing that really, for me, sort of linked it as, in terms of, did we need a sequel to Midnight? Doesn't matter. We got one. So the question is for me, how do they, and we were talking about y'all were talking about the Weeping Angels earlier. So the question isn't necessarily do you do a direct sequel, but especially for RTD, when he brings things back, it seems to be and I guess Moffat does it too to a certain extent. It's like what's the new twist? What's the new thing? But also like what? And I feel like this was new enough from start to finish that it didn't necessarily, like you said, Ross, didn't necessarily feel like a sequel. Didn't have to be a sequel. My only real issue, in as much as I had an issue at all, was when they sort of they did sort of beat you over the head because they showed David Tennant and they showed what's her name, the guest star in Midnight.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little bit over the head, over the top, but by the same token, it sort of gets you interested if you're not familiar with this. So I mean, it's the same thing that they did, the fans did in Lux last week by continuing to mention Blink, by having all the things behind them. Is like, if someone hasn't seen this before, here are some moments that you can look for or look toward for further background.
I saw someone jump in about why they put Tenet and that in is because if you're a kid and this is your first Who, you have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't think you need to show them. I think
no.
I've had an adventure
Yeah.
on this other planet and it did this, it stole our voice, it was terrifying. I don't think you need to.
And that's the thing. That's the linkage that I saw. In as much as there was any particular like heavy tie to Midnight, was that idea of, is this someone who is speaking for themselves? Is this two people in one body? Like who is, is it something that where they can control what you're saying in the way that they did in Midnight? But that I felt also sort of moved it forward because you didn't know. Like it wasn't obvious. There wasn't like that repetition scene that's so freaky in Midnight. But again, that making you question whether it's her talking, whether they're both cohabiting the same body. I mean, obviously she wants to get off the planet, but like, is part of that influenced? I think that's one of the crazy things about
get off the planet
about this episode is that to borrow a phrase from my academic days, the anxiety of influence. Jeff, go ahead.
The desire to get back to a 2-year-old daughter is the driving force there. And as a parent, you get it. It's like, I will do anything to see my kids again. So yeah, Leslie Sharp, by the way, was who you were looking for. Sky Silvestri. There are moments of doubt with her character, and you understand her motivation. She could have made her life much simpler by just explaining, because she clearly knew exactly what was happening, because she gives all of that explanation at the end very easily. So you do think she could have made her life just a little bit easier by going, listen to me, I know what's going on, but she's terrified. Yep. And when you're terrified, you don't think like that.
Yes.
So I had to kind of sort of check myself there and go, well, actually, no, I do understand this character's motivation from the point of view as a parent and from someone who has been in the situations that you are scared into not making correct choices. I can kind of get it. I need to know if she survived because it's clear that it got onto the ship at the end, and I presume that's the ship that she's on to take her home. So,
and that's one of the things that I want to talk about.
I didn't even think about her being on the ship until you just said it. Now I'm like, oh my, wait a minute.
Yep. And that's one of the things where, again, like it's one of the major sort of things for me with this episode was, what was I getting out of it? Why was it making me feel the way it was making me feel from the first time I watched it? And it's that idea of not knowing, like, one of the characters, at least most of the characters, the sort of focal characters anyway, at least one point in the episode, and they see it in the video when the doctor restores the site video when they're at the well site, and you just hear this constant refrain of, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. So there's this idea of virality and unknowing. Like, how does this work? How does it spread? What is it? What is it? Is it a disease? Is it a malignant? And I'm talking about like from the beginning when they're trying to work it out. Like everyone's trying to work it out. Like, is it an illness? Is it madness? Is it, again, is it mental illness? Is it a disease? Is it a malignant influence? Like, what is it? And how do we deal with what we don't what we don't know, what we don't understand. And like, in Midnight, it played out with everyone sort of being at each other's throats, arguing constantly in a very confined space. Here, I mean, it's so gruesome. It's so brutal that the half the base was not even just like beaten up, they were pulverized. They get there and they, Belinda's looking at it, it's not just the neck that's broken, it's every bone. And when we were talking about the throwing effect earlier, like the force of that isn't just necessarily when they land that their neck breaks. It's like, what is it doing to them in trans, like, does it have some sort of like psychokinetic ability to like not only throw but also to pulverize while it's like to really not just kill people but like really ram it home. And that the other ones were shot with lasers. Like, there's something really, it's just terrifying to not know what the cause is. And so that's sort of, again, and I was trying to think why, and it didn't even take me a second, because I'm thinking about long COVID. I'm thinking about the US government shutting down the CDC, or like changing its mandate to not update wastewater anymore. Like, even as small a thing as that is, like, and then bird flu is coming, and who is even thinking about that now? Like, what is that going to look like when it comes? And you don't have to like think very hard to remember 2020, March 2020, that first summer, even, where we're wiping countertops, we're disinfecting vegetables. We don't know we literally didn't know what it was, and it caused us, and it's something that I'm still dealing with 5 years later, where I still feel like I need to wear a mask when I go to the grocery store or I go to an indoor event. Like, there's something still so unknowable and so terrifyingly indistinct about COVID as an illness that, I mean, aside from like friends of mine who are dealing daily with long COVID because people didn't know how to deal with it then. I mean, I could keep going on, but I feel like you get the point. Like, that there's this sense that you don't know what it is, and so you begin to mistrust everyone.
Yeah. It's that one soldier, the by the book guy,
Cassio. Yep.
Cassio. And I loved it. What was the name of the leader, the woman who sacrificed? Shia. I like that.
Yep.
I grew up around, military people, and
Yep.
the sacrifice. Hers just like going, my job is to make sure they go home,
Yep.
not to make sure I go home.
And that's part of it too, is that what is the approach that you take in a situation where you don't know what's going on? Do you go by the book, or do you go case by case basis?
Yeah.
I wonder if that act of self-sacrifice will be treated the same way as the old boy in The Timeless Children, the guy who takes the bomb from the doctor. Because it's exactly the same thing, except that I remember that got a lot of stick at the time. It's something Doctor Who has always done.
Oh,
yeah.
Because the Doctor has to survive.
Yeah, and he does. He lands on a planet, he starts a revolution, and people die, and he leaves. I mean, this isn't a revolution, but there are cause and effect. He can't save everybody. And Davies, since New Who's been back, they say it. The character goes, "I can't save everybody. I will try to." And it's why in Empty Child, when Eccleston's doctor goes, "Just for once, everybody lives," because that's not the norm.
It's not the norm. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it.
And I feel like her character,
I think everything's earned in this story. I don't think there's anything here, anything the characters did wasn't earned. It wasn't tacked on. It wasn't just for show. You saw the tension with the Doctor and Cassio growing. You saw that this leader, unlike an old school Doctor Who, the head guy's normally the one doubting the Doctor.
Yep.
Unless it's the brig. And it's the lieutenants that are going, no, he's talking good stuff. You stupid.
And that's one of the things, is that and it's exactly what you're saying, Ross, is that's set up for her character, for Shia, like from minute one, is that she's constantly giving, and it's not a bad thing. Like, I feel like that's why she is the leader. And I feel like
shown that she is a thoughtful leader.
Yes.
There's this,
Yep.
She's always asking questions. She's always listening. She's very engaged.
And
I
making
thought
her
that
best
actress was
judgment.
very good.
And her name is I had to look it up to see how to pronounce it, because it's an Irish name. Apparently Cleven Dunn is her name.
Cleven Dunn. Yeah, I like.
I mean, we were talking about Rose Ailing Ellis at the beginning, but I feel like and her sort of aptitude, what her aptitude would be as a sort of companion sort of figure, and I feel like this is another aspect of that. So just
Oh,
like
I
you've
like.
got the captain and the lieutenant who are sort of at odds with like how they approach, the uncertainty of the mission. Like you have that sort of that balance as well, where you've got sort of three companions for the Doctor at that through the episode, which is like the Rose Ailing Ellis character, the Cleveland Dunn character, and I feel like she absorbs the Doctor's sort of mentality as well. Like she sees constantly he is setting a role, he's setting a model for her. And she is, confirmed in the way that she acts because of the way she sees him act. Like instead of being and again, that's influence as well. Again, what is that? How does influence work? And I feel like that is part of that virality as well, that I was mentioning earlier. Like the idea of influence and how you influence each other, the whispers that people hear. Like,
Yeah,
what is
the
it that
creature whispers. I like
all of
that.
these things are related. So yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I like about them. I like the monster. It's whispering, and I do, that it is malevolent. There is a malevolence to it. We don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor can't tell you. It's just that it plays tricks. It does bad. It pits people against each other.
It's like the primal toy maker.
It is, and
Yep.
that's why I wanted that. Great,
I was
that's
thinking about that
perfect, because
too.
that's going to
Yep.
help me segue into.
Yep.
I saw a comment about I'm tired of seeing Mrs. Flood. I like her a
I do too.
lot.
I don't
I do
have a problem with
too.
it.
I don't mind it. And also, since the giggle, not the giggle, since Star Beast, well, that's the only one not we or Wild Blue Yonder, things from outside, the bigger things, the toy maker, Sutek, all of this is, and Mrs. Flood is, is she the Ronnie? Whatever. But maybe she's one of them. Maybe she's a manipulator. And Doctor Who, especially modern, has had the trickster and Sarah Jane, which is a great character. All these bigger. Is this creature one of those? Is like
she
Lux is the
time?
embodiment of light. If that is
Is
the
she
one on
time?
Hmm?
Is she time?
Flood?
Mrs. Flood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would. That'd be great.
She's everywhere,
Yeah.
and much like the seeded Sutex. It's. I'm quite content to just wait and see. What
Yeah, so she
And that's a
pops up.
similar
Mrs.
thing
Flood.
about the
Yeah.
creature in this episode. Like last week's creature was light, and
Yeah.
Doctor Who in
Was
this
this
one says,
malevolent? I mean,
well, the
was
thing is,
this
Doctor Who
hate
looks
or
down the well and
fear?
says, like, this is a thing that's never seen light. So part of it is like, was this darkness? And you were talking about the since Wild Blue Yonder, but you also mentioned the trickster, and we've seen this creature before as well. Like, it's not necessarily like it's our interpretation, and it's what the 14th Doctor said, like the third David Tennant Doctor, as it were, when he pinched the salt over his shoulders, that he assumed that this is what caused the breach. But these things may find their way into our universe one way or the other. And like, the other thing is like, maybe this isn't like a sort of god of darkness. Maybe it is just strife and mistrust and I don't know. And those things we don't need extra dimensional entities. Like this enhances that. It inflames it. It exacerbates it. But I don't know that it necessarily has to be something that is foreign to us, which is the thing about the end sequence where it was listening to that thing about Unleashed, like we don't really trust her ever. And I'm like, well, wait a second, like maybe the monster didn't get onto the ship, maybe. And that's the hardest thing for me about one of the hardest things about this episode is like we just have to sort of deal with the fact that we mistrust each other. Like that is the hardest and most brutal lesson here, is that you get to the end, she doesn't, like the other person on the ship doesn't sort of recoil in horror, she just sort of stares sort of awkwardly, and
it's paranoia,
Mo,
isn't it?
yes,
It's
and
social paranoia,
and that we don't need a monster for, and that is a horrifying thing.
Yeah,
when we're deporting 2-year-old kids because we think that they're, how is a 2-year-old child a terrorist? Like that's the paranoia that we're seeing here, is like everyone is a suspect, everyone can't be trusted. And like there at the end, it's that's so terrifying that it again, the monster didn't have to get out. All you have to have is the rumor of it. She's like, yeah, I heard it was really terrifying, it must have been really scary down on the planet. And then it starts again. It's just that cycle of mistrust.
Yeah.
of unease.
All right. So hey, let's move to the wrap up. So let's overall, I liked it. It was
Wrap up,
fun.
wrap up. We haven't
We haven't
even
even
talked
started.
about Shooty. We haven't talked
Oh
about
shoot!
We're gonna talk
Oh,
about
Belinda.
Verita
all right. All right.
Because I want to shout out Shooty in this episode
Yes.
because he really was the Doctor.
Yep.
Absolutely through and through. Everyone's going on about the tears. I've done it myself, but they were earned and they were justified in this episode.
Yep.
I don't know how you could look into Alice's face and not feel some sort of emotion, seeing the terror, the sustained terror that she's living in. Um, I, Merida is a whole other level of Doctor Who companion now as
Yep.
Belinda. I do not like that the Doctor just stands idly by and lets her get shot above the heart. He didn't have much choice, but
Risk
normally the
assessment.
Doctor
Yep.
would try and come up with an alternative, even if time is of the essence. And I like the scene where he just lays down next to her in the TARDIS at the end. I really liked that, and their companionship feels very legitimate and very
Yep.
earned. I'm not sure how this is going to deal with her levels of trusting him going forwards, because that's an issue because he let her get shot.
Well, I also feel like again with we're gonna get you home sort of theme that's going on. Like I feel like the letting her get shot and then her getting knowing that she's mended at the end almost more cements that trust than undermines it. Like
It can
he
go
had
one
to
of two
know
ways.
because he had to know that the Shia character was an excellent shot. And in that moment, that was risk assessment because he's like, okay, I've got to trust you to knock out both of those things so that the Mercury wall can fall. And when he knows she can do that, when he knows she can hit because it seems a little bit rash for her character, who is very sort of by the book, sort of as a standard, that she like shoots the restraining bolt like very suddenly and very rashly, but that builds through the episode. So it's not you might hear from a bunch of like the naysayers that it's just Chekhov's sharpshooter, but like she does it repeatedly through the episode. It's part of her character, so that by the time you get to Shooty saying, "Okay, it's this," or we don't know what's going to happen, like he's making that judgment call, and so there's a trust there.
Lead.
There's a trust between the three of them.
Yes. You don't get to lead a bloody Space Marine extraction squad without actually being good at your job.
Warhammer 40K. Yep.
Yeah.
The
I
way
wish they
I
had
took
giant spacesuits.
so my take on that is when she says I can shoot her right there, she'll be able to revive her. She'll be dead for whatever. That she infers that. I saw that. And when I saw her run immediately after it, that she's making this thing is, I'm not only going to shoot her, I've also made the decision to run and throw myself down the well.
Of place. Yep.
So she shoots her. She doesn't wait.
Nope.
She just runs.
Yep.
So I was like, oh, fuck.
And that's one of the things about
this isn't just about shooting Belinda.
Yep.
I'm going to temporarily kill Belinda. I'm
call.
Committing suicide.
Yep.
It's one thought.
And she makes the same sort of immediate judgment call with Cassio, where she like directs him to go behind why did her name just pop out of my Ellis to get him out of the way, because he is an active threat to everyone. Like that is
the only way she can take command back, because he's used that rule.
Which is wild.
And it's not about her wanting command back.
No, it's about her wanting to end the season. She's going to get us all fucking killed.
Yep.
And calm. Yeah.
How many people can we save here? And that's a thing we hear a lot from the Doctor over the course of New Who, especially, is like, do you save one person? If you can save one person, why don't we save Pompeii? Like in the Fires of Pompeii episode, like Donna is asking him, like, why can't we save the town? Why can't we save the town? Why can't you just save one person? Like making those judgment calls is not something they belabor in this episode, but it definitely comes up again and again. And yeah, and I think Shooty sets a good model here. And it's weird because people have been complaining that, oh well, he didn't take RTD didn't take fan reaction into account, like that matters, before they started shooting season 2. But I have heard lots of rumblings on a variety of podcasts and all over the internet about and I think you may have said it last week, Jeff, about Shooty always calling everyone babes, and they flipping lampshade that in this episode with Cassio's like, I don't think it's appropriate to call me babes, and he's like, okay, hun. But this is the thing, is like the Doctor, this is that Doctor, and thinking about Shooty and his,
he's a little sassy. He's the sassiest Doctor, I think, in some ways.
And that's exactly it, because there's one point where Belinda asks, and it's a really good question from her. We've heard it asked in a variety of different ways over the course, especially of New Who. But she's like, we're 500 years in the future. Humanity still exists. And he's like, Shooty's response. So for me, I was like, I heard Tom Baker saying, like the whole speech about Indomitable in, what's that? Is that the Ark in Space?
Ark in Space, yeah.
But Shooty says, you get out there and you work it, or something like that. Like that's his version of saying that. Like, that is his Doctor. His Doctor is babes and honey and work it, and like you get out there and you shine, and like that is his Doctor.
Except he does drop that once the situation goes, that is gone.
Yes.
It is his smoke screen.
This is my invisible.
His
this
defense,
it's my force field.
He can turn on a dime, which is
what you want any Doctor
also
to do.
Yep.
Every Doctor has their turn on a dime moment. You know what I mean?
And that was his. I think this story is his. Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought about that when he started crying, and I like that he cries. We have him hugging, but he can't cry. It's the more tactile thing. But I think I think this Doctor has the facade of carefree, sassy man who likes to dress up and go play in the universe. I like that he changes costumes every episode.
Yep.
I quite like that now. I like that that's become his thing. Yeah, really. And that he's got someone to dress up with as well now, because Belinda loves it as much as
that.
The girls are going shopping.
Yep.
And having toxic play when they run up and they come out.
I wanted to ask y'all about that too, because that's we haven't we last heard
it's
toxic
her first space station.
Yes, so we last heard toxic in the end of the world.
Yeah, so he added toxic to it. I like that.
One question I wanted to ask y'all, because I'm sure this will come up in the nitpick podcasts or the haters, is and this goes to this idea of Shooty and thinking on the moment, thinking in the spot for me, is once they discover, and it's about, I want to say 2/3 of the episode through, when he is because you were just talking about hugging, which is what brought it to my mind, when he's reassuring Alice, and he hugs her, and he comes up close to sort of really see if he can talk to the entity, and he realizes that it's not affecting Alice because she is deaf. And so we haven't really talked about that, and I think that's a great please for this episode, not to make a big deal of the fact that the Rose Ayling-Ellis character Alice is deaf, but that it becomes part of the story. And so once they realize that they can't hear, why don't they plug their ears? And it's not, for me, that's not a nitpick, but I feel like the haters are going to be like, oh, that's a plot hole. And I'm like, there are a million things going on. Shooty is like, she's trying to, like, everyone is trying to do the best they can. I'm like, that, for me, that's not a plot hole. That's just like, why didn't we think of that, like, afterwards? Because I mean, think that goes back to, like, Odysseus. I mean, that's the Odyssey, where he ties himself to the mast so that he can hear the siren's call, but he makes every one of the rest of his crew plug their ears with beeswax. And I'm like, why wasn't that a thought? Like, it's something that is almost telegraphed when Verita Setu, when Belinda's looking through the medicine chest, and it's like, I don't know what any of these things are actually. Like, again, I just wanted to get y'all's thoughts on that. Like, did you think that was an inconsistency? For me, again, I feel like it's just like part of the chaos. Like,
no, it's part of the chaos. Giving them a solution would take the terror out of it. It's like, not everybody. This is, where suspension disbelief. This is happening to them in real time for the most part. This isn't. We're not seeing jumps. So basically, for 20 minutes, or 25 minutes, 30 minutes, these people have seen half their friends die. There's an invisible monster. You know what I mean? They're not going to think of that. And it's, I think Davies is actually picking people. I want to put a deaf character in the story, and it'll be helpful that he's thinking of that.
Yep.
As well as going, I'll get some representation out there, and I'm going to hire a deaf actor to play a deaf, and they've done it in the past, but I think it's what's kept her alive.
Yep.
Because it's not driving her crazy, it's being alone for 15 days going to do it, but
her deafness doesn't stop the monster.
No,
because it's still there, it's still doing its thing. Her deafness is not integral. It keeps her from going mad, basically.
It's the only thing that's kept her sane.
Well, I mean, like, so to speak, because she's been there. She doesn't know she's gonna get home. She doesn't know if anyone's coming for her. Like, there are enough other things. Like, it's not the thing that keeps her from going over the edge, as it were.
Yes.
Yeah. The one thing that kept her from
what is interesting, though, is the way her deafness segregates her, and it treats her as a second-class character, a second-class citizen in the eyes of the soldiers. They treat her like she's stupid. They treat her like she's naive, and all she can do is not hear.
But by the same token, I want to talk about that in terms of representation, because I think really extraordinary here, and I just really want to talk about it real quick, is that the little buttons that they push that show the closed captioning. I'm like, that is how have I never seen that in sci-fi before?
It's a very good visual effect as well. It's so simple, and simple. The text is easy to read,
and the idea that in the future nurses, like the Alice says, wait, you're a nurse and you can't do sign language? Like, that's against the law. And I'm like, that. So we have two parts of that, because they do treat her that way, but also there are so many more built-in natural provisions for this.
However, those natural provisions are reliant on the person who has access to them using them, and they don't all of the time, and they deliberately, even the doctor does it.
Yes,
like
and
she does with the blind.
He turns it off.
Yep, she calls him out on it. She's like, I can still lip read.
The like she does with the blind girl as well, who calls her out because she could hear the writing.
Yep. Can you hear me? Or it takes you away.
No, it takes you away.
Frog episode.
So I think sort of like this. It's really important. My brother's quite deaf. He can hear, but only very partially, and he has to wear double hearing aids 24/7, basically. And it's interesting that it's only really the second deaf character who we've had as explicitly deaf. We've had deaf actors in Doctor Who before. The guy in Destiny of the Daleks, Tissam, he's famously deaf character actor. But I think it's interesting that something as simple as deafness, which can be overcome with very little sort of like obstacle, really, other than our own personal effort into learning how to sign and do that, it just really struck a chord with me. I think because of my brother. I think because she is clearly such a good character and such a good actor as well. And it's interesting the bits where they choose to use her deafness against her. And it just shows the segregation of deaf people and the way that society, even in the far future, still does that. And it's seen as a way. It's like hurdling over someone almost. It just struck a lot of thoughts with me, and I don't quite know where they all are either, but I thought it was fascinating to see, and fair play to Russell for tackling that and having that in the episode, because he could have done the episode without it very easily.
And you can tell to it. And you can tell that she's internalized that, and it's not just because of this experience. She says that, she's just the cook. She's been doing this for a long time. Like, she's not even a cook. She just opens the flat. Like, she continues to like,
I just open the eggs and add salt.
And that's, but this is the thing, is like, she is a member of this crew. She was a member of chosen, selected, like she must have been screened, like all these kinds of things. But like she has, you can tell that, and I think that that might be part of it, Jeff, is that you can tell that she has internalized some of that. And like
Yeah.
I get that. I know what that's like
Oh yeah,
to
when she
feel.
turn when they turn on her and she goes, "You didn't have what is it? You didn't have to kill your best friend."
Yeah.
Because you realize that the body she's been
Is sitting
sitting
right
in
there.
front of her for
Yep.
the last 15 days is someone she killed and her best friend.
Yeah. Which
So,
is just like, talk about she's the only one who, or like the her inability to hear was what kept her from going mad. Like there, again,
yeah,
there are a lot, there's plenty to go around for that, for her.
yeah. So
That she's held it together this long in this way is kind of amazing. Yeah.
all right. Anything else we haven't touched upon?
We'll let you wrap up now, Ross.
Okay, fair enough.
I do
Well,
sort of want to go back to that idea really quick about, you know, what it is at the end if the monster escapes or whatever, because I feel like it's very telling, that, you know, again, in as much as this is a sequel to Midnight, really the sort of most midnightish sequence we get in this episode is that scene sort of right at the very end in the airlock, where it's the Doctor, Mo, Belinda, and Shia. Really the four most sort of thoughtful, considerate, sort of kind-coded people. But you know, it's not, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like the Doctor and Shia both make those sort of like immediate decisions of like, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. Like, you're going to shoot Belinda, and then Shia decides that I'm going to go take this run and this leap of faith to try and, again, we don't know if she doesn't know if this is how it works, because no one still knows at the end how it works. But the fact that you've got these four, the sort of kindest people, trapped in this airlock at the very end with each other, like, that the sense is there that this can happen here too. Like, it doesn't, like, you can have the people in Midnight who are all sort of very self-interested, solipsistic sort of characters. The professor is like always shouting down his assistant, all this kind of stuff. Here we have the four kindest people, and we know that this can happen here too. So I just wanted to sort of get y'all's thoughts on that here before we let it go. Again, just sort of thinking about what the creature is, you know.
Well,
because is it a creature, or is it
there was
in us?
You get the sense of something coming round that corner, don't you?
Yeah,
and I kind of wish we hadn't had that. I'd much rather never know. That's why I wasn't so mad for a sequel of Midnight, because it's like Midnight didn't tell us anything about what this creature is. We only know what it does. I think I could have done without the feeling of a alligator or something coming round the corner. But at the same time, it, it's Doctor Who, and Doctor Who has to have a bad there. The only other story I can think of where they've not done it really is Listen. Which again, creepy story, didn't like it. This creepy story, do like it very much. I think just talking about it this afternoon's helped sort of cement. Yeah, I think this is a much stronger season for shooting.
And every episode's been completely different. Like, that is extraordinary. And like, I had to pause it because that thing, I jump scared every single time whatever it was appeared. And I noticed only when I had to pause it because it's so brief. It's like a frame or two frames of footage. And it's not that it pops out, because that is like, I generally find that scary. The weird thing is it's already there and it withdraws. And I'm like, there's something really, and again, thinking about that last sequence, like, it's something like, it's a visual representation, but am I seeing the same thing that Shooty is seeing? And is Belinda seeing the same thing? Is Mo at the end, is Val at the end seeing the same thing? Or is this just something where this is something so that we can get a sense of what that moment is like? And that I feel is terrifying also, is that this is just a representation of fear, of unknowable, of something invisible. I'm sorry, Ross.
It's Lovecraftian, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the indescribable horror.
What I thought of, where my train of thought is going, that it being this season is last season there's a lot of big things, and it's not like they were huge, bigger than any overdone, trying to push out the envelope how we tell stories. I think the last season tried that. This one is, they're more, I think they're more interpersonal or more shut down, that he's not saving the universe. My complaint, he's saving the people in the movie theater. He's trying to save this one woman on this planet.
They're very small scale stories, really.
Keep it
very
going,
small scale,
because I think they allow you to be there with them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were witness. The thing where everybody would just do this because something in a quarter of my eye.
Yeah.
More so the camera moving. It was that people would kind of scan the horizon away, like going, did I see something or didn't I? So it was inflected. But I think this one does what he wanted it to do. He wanted to tell an interpersonal story about a group of people trying to save trying to save this last person and scare us, make us uneasy. Because a story can make you giggle, it can make you smile, it can make you cry, it can make you go, I'm not going to bed tonight. Thank you so much for that. But I think that's
like a baby.
Yeah.
And I know that during
you know what I mean? It's like I want the audience to feel uneasy. I want you to feel the unease that the situation would make you feel if it was real.
And just getting back real quick at the end to the idea of the recombinant or derivative, like whatever approach you want to talk about it. I feel like this is RTD at his sort of most mature as a writer, and I know that he wasn't the main writer on this. I feel like part of the credit was probably like editing, getting the tone right, and I don't have a problem with that at all. I think Sharma, I can't remember her last name, who's the other co-writer, like is a horror writer, and that's why they brought her on to do this. Good. So okay. This is, and you can tell, whether it's the references like to other stories or other fictions or whatever. But I feel like one of the things I want to talk about in terms of the maturity of RTD as a writer here is that, we think about like Torchwood or Bad Wolf as the sort of ongoing theme, or the wheeze of those first few seasons, or the crack in the wall and how sort of like tacked on that could sometimes feel in the Moffat era. Like, I feel at the end here, there's a lot going on. And I just sort of really want to briefly touch on that, because you've got, remember a couple of episodes, or like last episode, they get to Miami and Belinda's like, but racism is still a thing. And the doctor says, we can't deal with that now. Like we're dealing with this right now. And I feel like she is such a good companion. She's so well written, and Vera Satu acts it so well that here, that's saved to the end. When she wakes up and she's like, am I okay? Is my heart okay? She's like, okay, now that that's done, why didn't anybody know what the Earth was? Why didn't anybody recognize the human race as a species? Like, it's dealt with so organically here, that it's after the episode is over, after the adventure's over, she knows, okay, now I can ask this. Now that I know I'm going to live, I can ask this question. You get the sequence with Mo talking to Mrs. Flood, which again, people might say, oh, Miss Flood, you just worked her in. But of course Mo's going to report back to headquarters about what has just happened. And it seems fine that that's where Mrs. Flood is inserted. And then again, that bit at the end where, did the creatures survive, or are we all just naturally suspicious? So I'm sorry, I promise that's going to be my last.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I think the big bad thing, like the running thread, has been,
it was so well done.
It's subtler. It's there, but they're using the device. They've got a device to track it. So there's a reason why they're bouncing around. They're trying to get as close to that date as they can. So yeah, I think it's a little subtler. It can be in past, it's been bonk on the head. I like that. I like that they're just, I felt that each of these episodes is a solid, entertaining, scary when it needs to be, funny when it needs to be, what it's supposed to do. It's entertain us. It's not, there are undertones and things to think about, but I think this is a subtler season than last year, and I appreciate it. Maybe it's just they're more comfortable with the character and what, but
I remember talking about can they stick the landing?
Yeah.
Which ultimately I don't think he really did necessarily. But this year I'm less concerned about the landing and much more enjoying the free fall. I'm quite
Yeah.
enjoying the plummet
Yeah.
through the journey through to
Yeah.
the end result. I don't really care what the end result is
Yeah.
in this
We'll
instance.
get to it. I'm
I'm
enjoying the little
enjoying the
bits.
ride. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So,
it
And
really does
Ruby's
feel like
back
these are
next
all,
week, so that'll be interesting.
yes.
yeah.
And it does feel like these are, like you were saying, Ross, like it does feel like these are all, like, again, going back to the Christmas special, it feels like we've had 4 straight sort of standalone episodes that you can enjoy on their own merit. Like if you've
Yeah.
watched, then you know that Mrs. Flood appears every week.
I mean,
If
it's
you
what it
didn't,
should be.
like
I
she's
mean,
just the person that she's reporting to. Like it doesn't matter. Like I love
Yeah.
that. Like you
It's
can this feels like a jump on every episode. Every episode you could come in with no knowledge and be entertained.
Yeah. You don't have to know midnight to make this
Yep.
story scary. It just they're interconnected because they're both the same monster.
Yep.
So yeah,
I
think
love
that's
it when
good.
New Who does flashbacks too, because
Yeah.
oh my god, I remember seeing Mordrin Undead for the first time, and the Briggs flashback to old monsters and stories and doctors and things, and it was just like, oh my god! And now New Who's so old that it can do that
Yeah.
itself
Yes.
as well now, and there are
Yep.
people who are joining Doctor Who now who won't have seen Midnight. And
Yep.
that's the
And
interesting
then
thing.
they'll
'Cause
get
Midnight
ooh, I
was a
want to go
long
back and
time
I want to
ago.
go back and see that. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's how we all get hooked on it. It's
So that's the other part of the, are there too many callbacks? Are there too many flashbacks?
oh
Like
God, I
this
think
is
there's not in
we
this
all
season compared to his other. I've seen him draw. I've seen once Davies got pulled that band-aid off in his first run, it was all the time. And Moffat did it all the time. I think, and Chibnall did it some, but not as much as they all just. It's like, this is a subtle callback. This is meeting the Daleks again after 4 or 5 years without him or something. I don't think it's as bonk as it could be. It's so much. It's really way subtler than he has been in the past, and that's why I'm enjoying it.
Yep.
It's kind of like, oh, thank God. And I don't mind that stuff. I don't mind big. I want you to be consistent, and I want a season to have a feel.
Yep.
And I think the season has a
I think it
slightly
does.
different feel.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and he's a smart writer, and showrunner. He knows what he's doing. I think I think he watches as a fan afterwards and goes, I could have done better. Oh, that was a bad choice, like most artists do. I mean, there are actors who won't watch themselves because they'll think, oh, I'll just second guess myself the rest of my career because I'd make a decision and it's permanent. And I don't view it through that, so I'm just keep it up. Just make each one a good individual ride. Because
I mean, last season was everyone's sort of. I mean, RTD had been away from Doctor Who for a long time as well, and he'd been
Finding your feet
concentrating
again.
on other stuff.
Yep.
Much more real stuff. And it was Shooty's first time as the Doctor, and I think everyone feels a bit more settled in place this time round, because they sort of shot the 2 seasons fairly close together, didn't they?
Yep.
I think we're at a point where they've hit that sort of sweet spot where
They've really
everyone
hit the stride.
it's just started to sink into place now. Here's what we're doing, here's how we're doing it, and it's going to be great. These things always take a little bit of time, and we're having much shorter seasons than we used to as well now. So they have much less time in which to play and try different things out. Shooty hasn't had that time because he had he had a short sort of appearance run in his first season, and this is the first time he's really had like a good long go at it.
Sustain.
I think. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that shows. He seems a lot more comfortable in the role now. He seems like he's sort of melded into it. It sometimes does take a bit of time with some doctors. Sometimes that's deliberate. Sometimes that's just the way it is. It's very rare that you get a Tom Baker who hits the ground running, and Tom Baker sort of had a dip as well for a bit as well towards the end of his run, where it just kind of got a bit.
Yeah, I've been doing this a while.
But I I said before, I liked Hartnell's character progression, and I wanted to
Yeah.
see that with the Doctor, and I think I am actually starting to see that a little bit
Yeah,
as
that's
well.
I'm not seeing it maybe as much as you, but I mean, I haven't really watched the last season again to, I've watched bits and pieces of it when my wife was catching up. So I mean, maybe when this is done, I did a little bit with Jody, is I'll go back and watch it and see if you can see it. It's like, any show, the writers get to know your voice. An actor,
Yes.
they do adapt to an
Yeah.
actor. They do adapt to an actor. Because, it's, you've ever see the stories, they go, well, what do you do? How am I writing this new actor's playing the doctor? How do I write him? It's just write a doctor script. He will tell us via his performance what his doctor voice is.
And that's sort of the thing
changes as we'll adapt as we go until we're both on the same page.
And that's sort of the thing I was alluding to last week about maybe I was misreading Shooty, because I feel like if we do go back, the honey, the babes, the changing costumes, the sassiness, like a lot of that's been there from the beginning. I feel like it's not only the production, like from start to, like from top to tail, like set design, the directors, the writing, the actors, like it's just like supremely confident production at this point. But I feel like if we did go back and see how the Doctor was written, I feel like we would see that there is a sort of consistency that we might have missed because we wanted or expected a different sort of Doctor, or that whatever that might be.
Or is that
Go
is
ahead,
that Shooty being more comfortable with the flow of the Doctor?
That could be there as well. Yep.
I think his
voice.
flow has changed a little bit.
Yeah, it's a smooth. I also think he's a more subtle actor than we think he is, because the honey, the babes, and when he is
he can be very demonstrative. Yeah.
But he's also, he can be quiet. He doesn't, when he is, they're not giving him a lot of big speeches to do the big exposition, and he's not, they're writing for him. It's like, he doesn't need a lot. He can do a lot with less. I think he carries himself very well, and there's an energy, and that's part of his performance.
Which is one reason I wish that, that the future of Doctor Who were a little more certain, because I would not mind at least one more season with him. If not like we had with Tennant, like a season of specials, like just to give him one more sort of run. Because I mean, thinking about the way that the character of Doctor Who has changed, like I love that there at the beginning, Shooty is, he's telling Belinda, like, look, after she tells him about her family, she's like, look, I want to go meet your mom and dad. I will do the singing. Let me sing. I will sing for them, and your mom can whistle at my backside, which I thought was great. But like the change of the Doctor's character, over Peter Capaldi, deep breath, said, I will go off if I see anything I don't like, and that includes karaoke and mimes. And like he's talking about doing karaoke, and there's a lot of miming in this episode. So I'm like, the Doctor has grown and changed, and I'm glad, because I love karaoke.
Well, I'm hoping that, I bet Disney and BBC are looking to see what what's our return on our investment after the season? What are the numbers? Because streaming is, they're being cheaper. They're not going to do long runs and stuff like that, because that's not what's working for them, I guess. But maybe we'll be surprised at the end. I would like it be more certain, and not just, or if they're going to do a rest, say we're just not going to do it for 2 years, and we'll then, and they'll figure out what's. But I mean, Shooty's in a movie with Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman,
yep,
called The Roses. He plays one of their friends. It's about husband and wife trying to kill each other. It's a dark comedy. So he's doing Hollywood.
His star is on the rise. Yep.
Yeah.
And Verita Setu too. I don't know. It won't be my recommendation because I've got other stuff. But like, I watched the first arc of Andor, and she's just like, Verita Setu is just crushing right now.
Oh,
in
season 1,
owning. Season 2, the one just dropped.
I haven't watched the 3rd episode. So is she in the 3rd episode? Because she wasn't in the first.
I guess that is a spoiler. Sorry. Now she appears at the end of episode 3. I won't say.
Okay, I know she's coming back. Yeah. Oh, I know she's coming back. They all were signed to do it.
But she's just crushing right now. Man, what a star she is.
She's really good. She's so good. All right, well, I'm gonna do recommendations. Mine is gonna be if you haven't watched Andor. I'm a big Rogue One fan. I think it's such one of my favorite. It's probably my favorite Star Wars movie. More so than maybe because I haven't been able to watch A New Hope in a long time. I like the originals normally, but I haven't watched it in a long time. I just enjoy this, and Andor season 1 was the best of the season shows they've
really good.
done. It is of the live action ones. It's the best live action show they've done in a lot of ways.
Jeff doesn't like it.
I like it. I like it. I don't. It's not my
Or
favorite.
doesn't like the call. Yeah.
I like Ahsoka.
Ooh, that's still on my list.
Oh, I
just
like
because I'm a
Ahsoka.
Sabine Wren fan, so
yeah, no, I like Ahsoka too. I like that.
I
because
love
that's-
Rebels. You see, so anything
that's
that
it.
carries on Rebels makes me very happy.
Yeah, I'm just thinking this is. I love it because it was. Oh, it's my Rebels sequel. Thank you, because I like all the characters. We're gonna see some of them in Andor too at the end. What's the
Ooh,
guy?
well, yeah, 'cause
what's
that
the
all
what's the
ties
guy?
up, doesn't
What's the alien with the alien that was
Zeb.
on the Zeb? Zeb's in season 2.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Yeah,
Because
so
he was
I'm
in.
looking-
He showed up in Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian.
Yeah,
didn't
for like
he?
half a
Yeah. The bar. He was sitting at a bar. Yeah. So I'm gonna recommend good catch up on it. I catch up on it. I rewatched Andor season 1 before season 2 started, and I really have been in a timeline rewatch. And I want to get to Rogue One, and I want to get to Star Wars. I want to get back to. I haven't watched those in a while, the original series, but I've been jonesing to watch. I was like, oh, I'm done, and it's like, oh crap, Andor season 2's coming out, so now I got to pause. So I'm looking forward to it. First 2 episodes are good. I'm gonna watch the third one when we're done here. So, all right, Jeff, do you have any recommendations?
I don't know how many of our listeners are gamers, but this week Bethesda effectively shadow dropped a full remaster of Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a big Skyrim fan. I adore Skyrim, which is the 5th installment in the Elder Scrolls chapter. Well, this was the game that came before Skyrim, and I've spent all week playing it, and I'm in absolute heaven. I am so happy. It looks stunning. It's the same janky old Bethesda game from 2006 or 7 when it came out. I think it's 19 or 20 years old. It's the same age as my daughter. I'm playing a game that's the same age as my daughter, and I haven't been happier in a long time. Forget your most recent AAA games. Forget about it. Just download Oblivion. It's on Game Pass. It's available on PS5. You can get it pretty much anywhere. Get it, play it, love it.
All right, Melvin.
My busy mate Julia recommended that I watch the most recent Beetlejuice sequel. Talking about sequels, it feels relevant this week since we have sort of a sequel to Midnight. And I watched it earlier this week, and I gotta say I was very skeptical because I mean we aren't we, of sequels to things that we loved when we were like 30 plus years ago.
Yeah, when you wait 30 years to do a sequel, it's like,
which was why one of the reasons I waited, but she recommended as one that she really loved last year. And I've got to say, I was bowled over. I mean, I was really, to say pleasantly surprised is sort of an understatement because it has, I don't know, who gave the okay, who did the funding. Like I know movies are expensive to make, and this felt just like peak 80s weird fantasy horror comedy Tim Burton. Like this was unfettered Tim Burton, and I'm like, how are they even going to deal with the fact that Jeffrey Jones, who played the father in the first movie, has sort of since been sort of disgraced? And I was really shocked because he is a huge part of this movie. Like the whole movie happens because of him, basically, because his character dies. But I just thought the whole movie was I laughed at least once in every scene, sometimes because of it was corny. The way that they did the effects was fantastic. Like it sort of had that, I don't know, again, whether that was actual claymation or stop motion animation, the way that they used to do it for old school Tim Burton, or if it was the CGI version of that. But whatever it was, it looked great. It felt right. I was like, how are they going to do the Beetlejuice character who's kind of smarmy in the 80s? And they played him as sort of Michael Keaton sort of played him as something out of time, out of place, out of touch, out of his mind. Like it was really, I don't even know really what the plot of the movie was, but it was very, very enjoyable. I highly recommend it. It was
Well, that's
great.
cool. I've not watched it because of that. It's like I
Rest
don't think
assured,
yeah,
you will
I'll
love
give it a
it. If you
try.
love if you love
Yeah,
any of Tim Burton's stuff, you will love this.
I do.
That's all there is to it.
No, that's one of my favorites, and it's one of my favorite Michael Keaton movies because he doesn't really do comedy much anymore. He hasn't
Yeah,
done it in a long, long time.
yeah.
And remember that he started in comedies. That's all people thought he could do.
Hmm.
So I'll have to give it a try. All
And
right,
very
folks.
similar to the Midnight thing. Like it's not even really a sequel to Beetlejuice. It's just like more Beetlejuice.
Gotcha.
Sorry,
Gotcha.
it's just like
Well, my wife
again. I don't know how they got away with this.
Yeah, I watched the newest or started to watch the newest Beverly Hills Cop movie because my wife was like, "Well, I want to watch all of them." She had never seen them. I was like, "Really?" And I watched it and I went, "Okay, how are they doing this over here?" And I liked it because one, he's not in shape. It's Eddie's 60, little, he's almost 60. So he's got dad bod. He's old. Um, and they use basically the same soundtrack as the first movie, just update the songs in the background because the big thing of 80s action movies, sometimes, especially some of them, is you didn't have a score, you had songs in the background. And it's kind of it's like, oh, it's you're basically you're doing a new one with all the 80s aesthetic to it, just not in the 2020s. But he's not Rambo or Super Cop. He's an old dude. And he's just it's a more personal story. It's about his daughter and the two cops he was friends with, um, and a good bad guy. So and I like Eddie Murphy when he does these movies because he's always snarky and funny. It's when he's at his funniest. So I enjoyed it. All right, folks. We'll be back next week with what is it? The
Lucky Strike.
Lucky Day. The Lucky Day. And the return of Millie Gibson, which will be neat to see. I like her. I hate to say I hadn't really thought about her after the last couple
Yeah, no, I
episodes.
haven't really missed her.
Yeah, and now
No.
we'll see.
But that was the thing when we talk about that story being sort of unsatisfying. But her story ended the way it was supposed to. She was
Oh
looking
yeah,
for
no, I
her
don't mean
birth
it.
mother,
Yeah.
and she found her. So
No, I don't mind bring someone back. I like
But
that
we'll see
he's
how it
bringing
goes.
back. Yeah, I like the people he've decided to have come back in the last two seasons. So they're all good. All right, folks. Thanks for listening, and we look forward to seeing you somewhere in time or space.